Good afternoon, Barevzes. My name is Ellen, and I am the American Citizen Services Chief here at the U.S. Embassy in Yerevan, Armenia. Thank you for joining us on Facebook today for a special edition of Ask the Consul focused on overseas voting. The 2020 election in the United States is less than 100 days away, so I'm here to make sure that you understand what steps you need to take to cast your vote while overseas. Before I explain the process and answer your questions, I do want to acknowledge that we also received a lot of questions in advance about visa services, both about non-immigrant visa services as well as immigrant visa services. As this session of Ask the Consul is specifically focused on overseas voting and questions about that process, I will not be answering visa questions today. However, I do want to provide a brief update on where things are with respect to visa services at the U.S. Embassy here in Yerevan, and provide contact information for our visas teams so you can send your questions to them. Currently, the U.S. Embassy remains unable to resume routine immigrant and non-immigrant visa services. While we do intend to resume visa services, we are unable to provide a specific date at this time. Applicants will be contacted directly if we're able to schedule their application for interview. For additional questions about immigrant visas, please email our immigrant visas team at ivyerevan@state.gov. It's I as in immigrant, V as in visa, ivyerevan@state.gov. For questions about non-immigrant visas, please email our non-immigrant visa team at consyerevan, C-O-N-S, Yerevan, @state.gov. As you are all likely aware, there are also some restrictions on travel and on visa processing related to COVID-19. For additional information on these restrictions on travel and visa processing, you can visit travel.state.gov under the topic COVID-19, Visa Services and Restrictions. So with that information, we're going to move on to your questions about how to vote overseas. So there's a quick reminder here. I think you are all aware, but you can submit questions at any time via the live chat. And of course, if you do have additional questions about voting overseas that we don't address today, feel free to email or call our ACS team. You can find that contact information on our website, or email ACS for American Citizen Services, Yerevan @state.gov. So I know the process for voting overseas can seem a little bit overwhelming and confusing, and we've received some questions from you all about exactly how to do that. I'm going to try to provide information about the process and give you a sense of the resources that are out there to help you work through that process. The good news is, really the process just takes 3 simple steps, and once you understand those steps, it can seem a lot more manageable. So the first step, and arguably the most important one, is you need to request your ballot. So you can request your ballot by completing something called the Federal Postcard Application. You can find that on the Federal Voting Assistance Program webpage, fvap.org. If you don't remember anything else from this, fvap.org is the most important piece of information you're going to need to figure out how to vote overseas. So the first step is to go to that website and request your ballot using the Federal Postcard Application. You can fill it out online, or if you would like, you can download it, print it, and fill it out manually. And if you need any assistance doing that, you're welcome to call the American Citizen Services team, and we can walk you through it. So the other thing you'll need to do is figure out information about your state and how you can then submit it. That's also something you look up on fvap.org. Just look at the drop-down menu and select your state. So one item I really want to stress when you're filling out your federal postcard application is the application will ask you how you would like to receive your ballot. First, you need to check with your state to see what's possible, but in the event your state allows you to receive that ballot via email, I would encourage all of you to consider that option given the restrictions and limitations and disruptions in international mailing services and shipping due to COVID-19. So that's step 1, request your ballot using the Federal Postcard Application on fvap.org. The second step is simply to wait to receive your ballot, and once you receive it, to fill it out and complete it. So get your ballot, complete your ballot. Third, you have to return your completed ballot. So once you fill out your ballot, It's recommended that you submit that ballot as soon as possible. You will need to check with your state, and you can find this state-by-state information on fvap.org to figure out how they accept ballots, whether by physical mail, fax, or via email. As in previous election years, the U.S. Embassy also maintains a secure box where U.S. citizens can drop off their voter registration materials and their ballots for mailing to the United States. However, due to disruptions and limitations in international mailing services and shipping, this year embassy mailing services are more infrequent than in the past and more sporadic. Therefore, for those of you facing short deadlines, we do encourage you to start looking into private options to mail your ballots to the United States, such as DHL. Should we see an improvement in our mailing services, we will update the community. So please ensure that you're registered in STEP, the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, so that you receive those updates. So there are a few other things you're going to want to check when thinking through this process. So first, and perhaps most importantly, check the deadlines for your state. Each state is different, so you do need to understand what the deadlines are for your specific state. Again, you can find that information on the Federal Voting Assistance Program's website, fvap.org. Second, you want to see how your state accepts materials, how you can submit them. So do they accept materials via physical mail, fax, or email? And again, that's something you can find. That's information you can find at the fvap.org address. Check the different requirements for your state early and make sure you're aware of them. So I just want to recap here to make sure everyone understands the steps. Step 1, request your ballot. Step 2, receive and complete your ballot. And step 3, return your completed ballot. If you need more information on how to do this, check the website at fvap.org, and of course you're always welcome to call or email the American Citizen Services team here at the U.S. Embassy in Yerevan. Now that I've covered the process and your questions, I hope that makes the voting process from overseas a bit more manageable, and just want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for your interest in voting, and wishing everyone a safe and healthy weekend. Thank you.